Guideline 4 is considering the most recent information. Therefore, when you base your final grade, it should be on the most current evidence of the student's level of achievement on the intended learning target or standard. The practice of averaging over an entire grading period does not yield the most current or accurate indication of the achievement of that student. Therefore, the teacher has to make a decision based on the evidence that they have gathered over the reporting term. If we look at this particular grade book, I'm looking at the assignments. It looks like there's nothing been entered. But if we look here on week 19, when you open the standards drawers, we do see the scores that have been entered in for those particular things we were going to assess in our PLCs for that week. Same thing for this, and so on. But when we go to the student view, what we get is a list of our CFAs on the left-hand side of the grid, aligned up with our learning targets or standards across the top, multi-step word problems, determining place value. You may notice the color changes. When we get to this one, this is a specific one. This is a cluster of place value, number base 10, that has 1, 2, 3 substandards that are calculated up into the group score. So therefore, it automatically will calculate to a parent standard with substandards, which is okay when averaging looking at the methods of calculation methods for standards-based reporting. Now, Guideline 4 is looking at the most recent information. So let's look at determining place value for this particular student. You can see he started off with a 1 on week 19. Week 22, a 1.5, 24 got a 2, 27 got a 2, and 30 got a 2. So if you notice, the final score is a 2. So it's not even considering these first 2 grades because they were practice, and it's looking at the most recent work. It's not going to give them the average of a 1.7. It's going to do a calculated score based on how we calculate the final 3. So the median was a 2. This looks like it's a fairly decent score. You may be concerned when you go over here and you look at this one, you're adding and subtracting whole numbers. We only had 3 opportunities, if you look here, and they had a 2.5, a 3. Didn't do a lot of assessments in between. We had to finish up with a 3 with our unit of summary. We have a 2.8. You can make a decision at this point to manually override that grade if you look at the score and you realize his highest was a 3 and you feel very comfortable that if you give him another assessment, which would be very accountable to measure his score, you can go up here, overwrite the score by typing a 3 and hitting save. That will now be the grade printed in the report card. You may notice that we have a little indication that lets us know that that score has been manually overridden the calculated score. I'm going to right click and revert back to the calculation score. You may notice that these 3 particular scores then are calculated up into the parent score, giving it a 2.8, where a 2.33. Those 3 scores, into that calculated score. You look on all the information to help you make your decisions on your scores. You have a mean, a median, mode, all central tendencies. You always see the highest, the most recent, and whatever calculation method we determined by the power law, and how many times it's been assessed. So if you noticed, this unit must have focused on multiplying. Whoops, let me get over this. Multiplying, because we've done 7 assessments on this particular assessment. And that is how the gradebook is organized to help you make a decision looking at various calculation methods to determine a final grade for a student based on their most recent work.